Okay. Hi there, everybody. Today I have Dr. Judy Goss with me. Hi there, Judy.
Hi, Don. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you today?
Okay.
All right. So Judy is a sports psychologist, and she works with Swim Ontario with the Swimming Academy and with some of the camps that come in. So you may recognize her. And we're going to talk to the parents first, and then we're going to talk to the swimmers as well. And we'll break the swimmers down into different age groups. So Judy, this is maybe week 5 of non-traditional life. Do you have some thoughts and some pointers for the parents who are trying to juggle perhaps working at home with their kids who are maybe they're being sent some material from their coaches, maybe they aren't, and how to deal with this whole really weird new world we're in?
Yeah, well, certainly in the middle of April, we're pretty used to being in the pool swimming. So changing it up and not being in the pool is something that's different. I'm sure that some of the kids, have the ability to focus on some school, which is a great thing. Giving them a break and hopefully getting outside or at least into the backyard, doing a little bit of activity. I won't really even call it exercise, just doing anything that's going to help them to mix it up. I mean, with injuries and everything that we know, that doing different things besides just swimming in a pool is always advantageous. So that's a good thing. You might find some of the swimmers are a little bit low in motivation, low in focus, maybe a little bit more moody or irritable or high energy. And that's not unusual. This is a first time thing for everybody. I've never been through a pandemic before. So we're not exactly sure how to handle these things. We do have a little bit of information, and the only real information that we have is that the Olympics have been postponed. So that does impact some of the things that might have been happening, events being canceled. We know we don't have those things to look forward to. So it's still a lot of what ifs, but the thing that we can really focus on is what is. You're at home, you can still do some flexibility, some strength building, nothing too severe, but just get outside and do some activities. I feel for the parents that have, kids that are very energetic at home and really need some time when you might be working and doing that kind of stuff. But I think it's also a good opportunity to really role model for parents some good behaviors. So going to sleep at the same time, getting up at the same time, taking some time to read a book at some period during the day, doing some things, taking time to cook together and make some healthy meals. The way that you act will impact your children greatly.
Okay, and I know that some swimmers, most of the time, no different than most athletes, I think, are always worried, like, oh my gosh, if only I had a little bit more time before my big competition, or I feel like I'm always behind. So in a way, isn't this like the perfect reset and reboot time to kind of plan ahead, even though we don't know exactly when we're going to start again?
Sure, it really is. I mean, all those things, everybody always says to me, especially at the elite level, if I just had a little bit more time. So if you do now have a little bit more time, what can you do? What kinds of small things can you do around your swimming or around the time when you're not in the pool that are going to build positive habits and really influence you? So, anybody that has a little bit of a, overuse or chronic kind of injury, really working on that. Opportunity to build some really good habits, whether it's a little bit of, building a small little relaxation or, mindfulness practice that you might have, working your mental skills in terms of building your ability to do imagery or anything like that, right? Getting ahead on your schoolwork so that if we do maybe get back in the water come June, that, and if you have still some, projects and stuff, all that stuff's taken care of and you can really focus on it.
Okay, some people, like you mentioned earlier, are excellent at doing stuff on their own, and other people aren't so good. Swimming's an individual sport, but we do train together, and I think humans are sort of, they like being around other people. So any thoughts on, like, you're only as good as, like, how good are you when nobody is watching, or you're only as good as your bad days? And any thoughts on how to deal with that when you're kind of all by yourself and you're not normally surrounded by good, positive role models and energy at the pool?
Well, and I think this is a great opportunity for people to know, learn a little bit about themselves. Certain things I can do by myself, I have no problem getting out there and doing, whereas other things I know that if I'm with a group or other people, or, whether we get on Zoom and do something together, or some kind of little challenge together, I'm much better. So know yourself and set yourself up so that you can be successful in terms of at least executing those kinds of things. We are very much about social connection, social affiliation. And, I've had a conversation with a couple parents saying, oh, my daughter doesn't want to go out for a run. And I'm like, well, do you blame her? Right? Like, get her to do it with a friend, like do something. And don't worry about it too much if they really don't want to do this stuff on their own. That because when they really get back, and what I really want to see is, I want to see them like, breaking down the door to get back in the pool. I want them motivated, energized, and happy to be back in the pool. So sometimes we got to kind of slow down on some other fronts so that they're saying, I really miss swimming. I really want to get back there. Not only just to get in shape, and I love swimming, but also to see my friends and be with others.
So specifically to that, to those swimmers or to the parents, if, like, it really is up to the athlete, the parents don't have to be on them to do the comparison of, well, your schedule used to be this, and like, if you're not doing that, you're going to fall behind and all that kind of stuff. It really is up to the athlete to sit there and go, like, they need to do this 100% on their own right now.
Well, I think parents can certainly provide them with the opportunity and even encourage them. Like, I'm sure, if your mom or dad said you want to go outside and, I don't know, throw the baseball around, or just, shoot basketball if you have a basketball net in your backyard. Those kinds of things will certainly help, right? But if it's 7:00 in the morning, why aren't you out there for your 10K run? That's a little different, right? So we can't expect them to do all those kinds of things, right?
Yes, there seems to be a sort of general thing out there that most swimmers aren't in love with running, although swimmers can love running. But I think a 10K run can seem fairly like a monstrous thing to tackle for a swimmer, even though, like, distance wise and time wise, it's pretty fast, but in their brain that's a totally different animal.
Well, and we have to remember that, we do, we limit ourselves by what we think we can do, right? Our brain is a great limiter. Our body can go a lot further than you think it can. We know that in the pool, and we also know that in any other, capacity. So be wary of that. Start small and, do something, 2K. What's wrong with that? It's still out there doing something.
So imagery is a big part of some sports, like for some of the other sports, not swimming, like figure skating and jumping and stuff like that. But obviously imagery is a part of swimming. Is now a good time for people to, sit there with their phone to try and time whatever the race would be, whether it's 100 or 200 or 400 or whatever that is, and work on their imagery and their breathing? Like, is now a good time to do that, or should they not be doing that now?
No, it's a perfect time, Dawn, and it's a perfect time just to work the skill, okay? Because imagery is a skill. Being able to control the image, being able to, see a clear image, being able to see it, the different techniques that you're doing, just like you said, getting the timing down right, getting, the sensations, the feeling, like, the execution of your breakout, all those kinds of things all take practice, just as they take practice in the water. So building your imagery skill It's not really difficult practice, because if you did it maybe, 2 times a day for 3 or 4 minutes, if you've been doing that every day for the last 5 weeks, just think how good you'd be at it right now, right? So we certainly have lots of opportunity, and it doesn't have to be just around swimming. We can, visualize or create that imagery for a variety of different aspects. So for sure a race, but think about, some kind of drill that you've been working on, or seeing it from a different angle, internal or external imagery. Visualize a different pool if you're going to, go to, I don't know, a Tobaco or T-Pass. Visualize that pool, creating that kind of image and sensation and feelings if you were actually there. So there's a lot of different ways you can use it, but really does need to be practiced.
Okay, cool. Well, obviously we have some time to do that, so now's a good time to play around with that. So finally, your own daughter, an Olympian, was ready for trials, which would have been a week ago now. That must have been a very tough transition for her to go through, like very many other athletes, of being ready to go, tapering, going to the event, and then obviously swimming to qualify for the Olympic team. So seeing as we're now post trials, any thoughts for people like your daughter who now get to reset because everything's been pushed back? Like maybe how you dealt with that with your own daughter is different than other people, but just any kind of thoughts on the reset of a goal that seemed to be, swimmers are really good about being very specific about a time and a place of where the event is going to be ready for it. So now that's been changed. So any thoughts on resetting?
I think that part of the difficulty for some, I kind of see there, really 3 groups of athletes that, have encountered this Olympic postponement. One, the younger athletes who, this Olympic trials probably was a little bit too soon for them. But now with it being actually pushed back a year for some of them, it's going to open up a big opportunity for them. So they are, it could be in a really good place, right, with this little bit of reset. We've got our kind of middle of the, age group or middle group of athletes, whereas, I'm trying for this Olympics. I was preparing for this Olympics, but I was still continuing or planning on continuing swimming whether I made it or I didn't make it. I was going to, go on for another year or 2, or maybe had more university to do or whatever. Then there's the ones like, that Kennedy was in that kind of age group, in terms of this was the last year that I was going to be swimming, right? Because either I was going to make the Olympic team a week ago and, or I was actually going to be done, right? So when you wrap your head around that for the last, 15 to 18 months, that this is what you're doing, maybe even 2 years, because she's been done, college eligibility for 2 years, that's just a really hard thing, because it was, 99.9% of the time that really was going to happen. She was, she was either going to make it or she wasn't. We'd never anticipated that it would get postponed or shifted. I never, when you try to plan and prepare for things, this was never anything I told her to plan and prepare for, right? So emotionally, it's just a hard shift for everybody. What am I going to do? Can I wrap my head around it and continue doing it? Is this break something that's going to be helpful to it? How am I going to see it? It's just a lot of emotions, first of all, because something you didn't anticipate. And then just a real shift in trying to plan and figure out what I'm going to do next. So yeah, a challenge.
For sure. All right. Well, that was awesome, Judy. I really appreciate that. I hope that that gives some swimmers and some parents some ideas and some thoughts. And thank you for sharing how it even personally affected and is affecting your own daughter. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I think this is very, very cool for people to take this time to really figure out where they're at and where they want to go going forward. So Thanks so much, Judy.
No problem, Don. You take care.
Okay, you too.